Welcome back to another episode of the ABCs of ERP and Beyond. And today we are diving into Acumatica's native integration with BigCommerce. In this multi-part series, we'll explore the seamless connection between Acumatica's ERP system and BigCommerce's platform. BigCommerce is a leading SaaS service that enables businesses to create, manage, and scale their online stores effectively. And today, in part one of our series, we will be focusing on importing orders into Acumatica from an e-commerce website. We'll start by displaying items in Acumatica and seeing how those look in BigCommerce. We'll create an order in BigCommerce, and then we'll delve into the Acumatica side of things and how Acumatica can prepare and process the order, finishing with looking at that sales order in Acumatica. So whether you're an existing user of Acumatica or BigCommerce, or simply exploring options to streamline your e-commerce operations, then hopefully this demo today will provide you some insights and show you how you can improve your efficiency and scalability by harnessing e-commerce. And as ever, I am joined with my fellow co-host, Nirav Shah. Welcome back.
Hey, Peter. I'm happy back to be here and talk about this. This is actually great because we just had Christina Harrington on from AlphaGen talking about e-commerce and getting started with e-commerce and best practices, which is an amazing episode. If you haven't seen it, definitely encourage all of our viewers to go out and see that episode. There's a lot of great golden nuggets on e-commerce strategies there. But building on that conversation is to show, how e-commerce companies, especially those that are maybe on the fence on what platform to use potentially, whether they want to go with BigCommerce or Shopify or WooCommerce, but, either route you go, you want to be able to synchronize your e-commerce orders as your customers are going to your website and putting in orders, right? Those orders then coming into your backend ERP system. Your backend ERP system is an important part of this because that is doing the fulfillment, it's receiving inventory, it's organizing essentially all the activities needed to perform and fulfill that order for that customer, because that customer only sees the website. They only see these nice pictures, they see nice descriptions, right? They see pricing, they maybe see some inventory, but really the customer knows you as your website. That's the brand, right? And rightfully so, they don't really need to know your ERP system. But if you have a good process flow where once that order is created in your e-commerce, and in our case today, BigCommerce, and that gets then sent to your ERP system and all the action happens, right? Can you then manage that order successfully and on time for that customer, right? So then you get a repeat customer. They'll come back and say, hey, this was such an easy process for us. We came onto the website, we ordered something, you guys did something to fulfill it, and I got it on time, right? Well, what people don't know is that you fulfilled it on time because you have a good ERP system, and that ERP system has defined processes to keep you moving forward constantly, right? There's no manual steps. There's no looking at 3-4 different Excel files. There's no 50 different emails going back and forth, right? Things happen logically as soon as our order hits your ERP system, that things start to get in motion in terms of planning and purchasing and warehousing and picking and shipping and all that stuff, right? It happens pretty synchronous, chronologically in the right order to make that customer happy at the end of the day. So this is an important topic as part of the discussion we did with Christina, and to see how this kind of works in action. And Peter, as you pointed out, this is our first part of our view of this particular integration, BigCommerce and Acumatica. We plan to do other parts to this, where we're going to add the Acumatica distribution fulfillment process, and then also the shipping and shipping, invoicing, notification back to the customer at the end of the order, fulfilling of that order as a part three. So this first
Mm.
part, we're going to look at BigCommerce. We're going to look at the website, imagining that we're the customer at one point, putting in the order, and then once that order, the customer puts in that order, they probably are getting an email saying thank you for your order. We'll look at that, and then what happens in Acumatica? How does that order get into Acumatica? So that starts the back end movement of fulfillment.
Yeah, I always thought like when people are looking at having an e-commerce side of their business, you'd immediately think, oh, I've got another system to maintain. But it's just
Right,
simply not that anymore.
right,
With the
right.
integration of ERP and the data flows backwards and forwards, you're still looking after the ERP system, just like you were
Yeah.
before you maybe branched out into e-commerce. You haven't got another platform to look after. Yes, in terms of the initial setup, but some of the things that we'll see today is how all of that data from, as you said, from the customer's point of view, they're just seeing a web shop with pictures, prices, availability, and that's about it.
Yeah.
You haven't really got to manage that because all of that information is being supported or being driven by the ERP itself. So if you're in a position where you haven't got any visibility into e-commerce and it's something you want to look at, it's not a case of an additional system for your customer service or customer sales teams to look after. They can just still manage this within ERP because of that integration, which is really
Mhm.
cool. And I will say, if you're listening to this episode, you're missing out. You need to go and find us on YouTube because this will include screen share. At the moment, we're looking at the dashboard of Acumatica, where we're going to start having a look at BigCommerce and how it plays with Acumatica. So if you're listening to it, some of this might not make sense when we're saying or describing things on the screen. You need to head over to YouTube, have a look at
Yep.
this. It's going to be the
Yep.
part one of 2 or 3 parts, possibly. See how this goes. So yeah, find us on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. Can't really see, right, if you're only look at hearing. So, my plan is to show BigCommerce and Acumatica. I think we could see right now the Acumatica dashboard, and real quickly, you could just see how visual this is. All right, this is the ERP that we're looking at right now. Where when orders get processed through BigCommerce, they come in, right? Someone who's, the manager. For orders coming in, or let's say the president of the company, right, wants to see, well, how many orders did we get yesterday, and how many orders processed, what do my stats look like, all that type of stuff. Well, you could quickly and easily see that right here in your Acumatica dashboard. So this is a really nice view, right? It gives you kind of a quick stoplight approach of what's running well, what's not running well right now. So this is a very handy view. So let's get started here with BigCommerce and talk a little bit about what is BigCommerce. Some people out there might be listening, saying, I'm thinking about, I need to do a store, I need to start selling online, or I want to, you know you know dip my toe into the water here on the e-commerce side, but what is BigCommerce, right? What does that mean? And how can it help me? So BigCommerce is a SaaS platform that allows businesses to create, manage, and scale their online business, basically. It's very similar and yet different in some situations to other common platforms like Shopify, WooCommerce, right? Homegrown B2B, B2C sites, that type of thing. So it gives you the ability as a platform to launch and maintain your e-commerce site to your customers. They offer a wide range of APIs, the different type of themes, kind of just like WordPress, different branding, all the different requirements necessary there for online merchants to sell successfully. Integrates successfully with major marketplaces like Amazon, eBay, Pinterest, Etsy, other social networks like Facebook and Instagram. They integrate really nicely there. And BigCommerce, and which Acumatica has done, has partnered with BigCommerce and come out with a native BigCommerce integration. Acumatica also has a native Shopify integration. They also have a native Amazon integration. We'll get into those in separate podcasts to show you how those integration pieces work. But basically, BigCommerce is a platform. It's a SaaS model, software as a service. You pay monthly based on the different functional needs you have and that you want to sell online. So what you're seeing in front of you right now is our internal generic BigCommerce Acumatica demo site that we have. Here you can see that it has, all slew of different items. Let's kind of call it a conglomerate of products that we sell here. We sell desk lamps, we sell cookbooks, we sell bath and garden things, and we also sell electronic. We sell injection molded machines. We sell Lego pieces and Acer laptops. So we're a one stop shop essentially. So you could find everything on our website basically. But I think you guys get the point. I was being a little silly there, but this is our demo site, and we do demos with prospects and customers with this particular site itself. But I want to show you the flexibility here, right? Um, Technically, most companies will first build out their e-commerce site. They will say, okay, these are all my products, these are all my product descriptions, and I want to build this out, make it look really nice, right? And then they'll do an ERP implementation. It's fine, nothing's wrong with that. I remember Christina in our last episode was saying, possibly get your ERP in place first. So if you get your ERP in place and you have your back-end processes defined, with Acumatica, you could automatically sync your items, your product descriptions, and inventory back into your e-commerce. In this case, our BigCommerce site. So what I want to show is a little bit of Acumatica at this point. I want to go in. Oh, let me close out of here. I want to go in here and show Acumatica by the standpoint of the item. So I'm going to go into what we call stock items. Okay, I could search stock items, or I could even search the description up here. If I wanted to search Acer laptop, I could just type in Acer here in the search, right? So here's Acer laptop. I could open this up. Okay. There's a file in here, so there's an image of my Acer laptop here associated to the stock item, right, already uploaded. There's a bunch of different attributes already associated to this item. There's default price, which is $500. Our MSRP is $600. So both of these fields get synchronized back into the BigCommerce site. It gives us our cost here, our warehouses that we stock inventory, what we have on hand. Okay. Um, we have other attributes that we could assign to this item. So here's our image, right? What category does it fall into? Computers and laptops, right? We could have multiple sales categories, and these categories then get linked back to the BigCommerce site for us and the way we're selling this item and the different menus that this item is found within. Okay. So that's a quick high-level look at the stock item for this item in Acumatica. I could even type in Acer, or we could go into this item number. If I type in this item number, let me just copy it. As soon as I type in that item number, I could go ahead and system will index the whole database, and I could go straight to that item. So a few different real nice ways to search within Acumatica. So the item is here, the description is here, the pricing is there. If I go into BigCommerce, what you'll see, here's our item, Acer laptop. If I go into our Acer laptop, we have our image as we just saw. We know our MSRP is 600, but we're selling it for 500. That's a $100 savings. Here's our item number from Acumatica, and here's our UPC. Okay. If we wanted to show inventory, we could show inventory, really up to us. In this case, I haven't. I'm just going to refresh this site here for us real quick. Okay. So we have our description that's coming over directly from our stock item. All right. If there's any reviews, these reviews could be managed and maintained within Acumatica as well. So before I put in an order from BigCommerce, I'm going to show us some settings in Acumatica on best practices to integrate. So I'm going to go to our e-commerce menu. And within our e-commerce menu, we could link multiple BigCommerce stores, multiple Shopify stores, different entities within the stores itself. But I'm going to go into our BigCommerce store configuration. So here's our BigCommerce store configuration. We have our store path, our APIs, our tokens that are necessary for Acumatica to access the BigCommerce environment and the backend tables. Then we could start identifying the sync patterns between the different entities of Acumatica and BigCommerce. So, the sync direction, meaning customers, items, pricing, right? Inventory. How are we going to sync this correctly? So what I'm syncing here are these active entities. I got customer price class, customer stock items, price list, product images, sales orders, shipments, right? And any other standard environment, you would want to sync all of these and then decide which is going to be your sync direction. Acumatica has a predefined sync direction there, so you really don't have to change it unless there's a real, specific need for it.
I like this. It shows quite clear the directions actually, because next to it you've got primary system. So I can
Yep,
see that we're exporting from our primary system things like customer price lists, um, stock items, so inventory
yep,
counts, sales prices, price lists, product images. So all of that is in my ERP system, which
yep.
is our single source of truth.
Hmm.
Even before we had an e-commerce website,
Yep,
that's our single source of truth. So we're not actually duplicating everything onto BigCommerce. We're just saying, right, here's the primary system that houses this data.
hmm.
Export it to BigCommerce. And then I can see a couple of others where we're importing,
Yes.
which I know we'll get to, things like sales orders. And that's the stuff that's happening on the BigCommerce side, right? So
Yep.
payments, sales orders, any refunds. And then I can see at the bottom there also we've got shipment entity, which again is
Yep.
export, because that means that we're owning that process in our ERP, right? And then it's just letting BigCommerce know, right, this is shipped. I assume for like order confirmations and shipping notifications and stuff like that. So I
Exactly.
quite like that we've got this granularity. And you say this already is set up to
It's
how
already
it
set up, yeah,
should
with the
be,
best practices exactly on how it should
right?
be.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Another important column here is just real-time import or real-time export. You could automate this. So what I'm going to show today is, what I want to show is the fundamental setup, right? Is to show you that the orders come in and how it gets processed. But you could automate that by actually telling the system that when when this is an import, in our case, from an external system, I wanted to automatically import and run in the background, bring the order in and bring it into a prepare status for me, right? Or I could tell the system, as soon as that order comes in, prepare and process it. Meaning I don't want an interim step of me having to manage or review the order at all. As soon as a customer puts an order into BigCommerce, I want it to immediately become a sales order in Acumatica. So you have these options for you to stage the process first and review it, right, for accuracy before
Mm.
you commit it to the order, or you make it directly into an order, right? I have a couple different schools of thoughts on that, right? Depending on where you are in your e-commerce journey, if you already have that fully defined, you understand maybe areas of conflict where orders need to be reviewed one time, right? And you understand what all those are, then I would say go and prepare and process and automatically create the order. Or if you say, you know what, I need one more look at it because I'm selling in multiple different omni channels, different platforms. And yeah, even though the website has committed me to ship on a specific date, I want to be able to send a confirmation back to the customer. So I want to review that order first and then prepare and then process it because I still need another set of eyes on it, right? So you have that flexibility in how you want to approach this what we call this real time approach of bringing in the data or exporting the data out to the third
Mm-hmm.
party.
Yeah.
Now, kind of moving on here is customers. This is an important, really important setting. So, how do you want to manage customers, right? Because in your e-commerce, you're going to get a boatload of customers that come in there. Some people might be one-time purchasers. Some people are going to be repeat purchasers, right? But how do you want to maintain that customer base, right? A lot of e-commerce customers say, hey, we don't want to, bring every single customer from our e-commerce into our ERP system, but instead we want
Mm.
to bring them in as a generic, right, e-commerce customer under a specific generic e-commerce customer code in Acumatica, but we will have multiple ship to addresses. So every
Yeah.
customer that orders will have just a unique ship to under that generic e-commerce customer, right? Because you want to keep some level of data. Or you could say, we want to create multiple e-commerce guest accounts, which is fine. Then you have that setting here as well. But most customers don't want to, muddy up the water and get, 5,000 customers in there that only bought once, potentially. So they'll use this kind of approach and setup. Okay. Inventory, so you have a lot of flexibility here because your ERP is going to be your single source of truth for inventory valuation, inventory numbers, and quantities. You could decide on how you're going to send your inventory detail over to BigCommerce. Do you want to show inventory to your customers? This is first and foremost point, right? Do you want to do that, or you'll say no, I don't, or yes, I do want to show um, inventory, but I only want to show it for certain items, right? Or if I do want to show availability, how do I want to show it? Okay. Set it as available or set it as available. Don't track the quantity or set it as pre-order. Do not update. A lot of different options. When quantity is unavailable, what happens? Do nothing. Set as unavailable or set it up as a pre-order, right? Availability mode. How do you want to show what's available? Do you want to show it just if it's available, just show it as available, or you want to write available for shipping, or do you want to show the on-hand quantity? Or just show on hand. Really up to you. And then warehouses. Do you want to show inventory from across all warehouses, or do you want to just show inventory from specific warehouses back into BigCommerce? So, a lot of flexibility there. Every e-commerce entity will have a different setup in these areas for mainly for inventory. Customers, I've seen it pretty common across that where you just have a generic customer. But for inventory, some customers, like it one way, another customer likes it a different way. So this is where it gets important to really understand what the e-commerce requirements are on showing inventory so it's set up properly on the Acumatica side. And then we have order settings. Order settings is when you have a BigCommerce order coming in, how do you set it up so it's very clearly visible to everybody who's using the ERP system that this came over from a BigCommerce order? Well, you could define that in this tab here during the setup and tell the system, well, based on this specific order type, what we're calling EO here, that represents a BigCommerce order. And you'll notice just scanning through the rest of this list that you could have various different other order types. So you could quickly see the order and where they're coming in from, where the source databases or platform is that's where the order is coming in from, so you could appropriately handle that order based on that platform and fulfill that order for that customer. Okay, so you could identify that order type here, return order type, refunds, right? Gift certificates, all these different necessary components on how your customers on the e-commerce side will interact with your website. You want to make sure that that's set up accordingly on the Acumatica side. And then you have payment settings. You could take all these different payments, right, from the BigCommerce side, bring them into Acumatica and process them. And then shipping, right? How do you want to handle the shipping side? More likely than not, you may have a shipping integration from Acumatica that extends to your e-commerce. So all the shipping detail, all the rate shopping, and all that is done there. And then what you're doing in Acumatica is purchasing a label, generating the label, sending that label information back to the customer at the time of shipping, so they're getting notified that their shipment is on the way. So I think that's the part that we're going to show as part of part 3 of our demo in this area, connecting BigCommerce to Acumatica. But that is also a fundamental area to connect shipping from Acumatica, your ERP, back into the e-commerce, BigCommerce side of it, so it all stays synchronized in one place.
Yep.
So let's go now and do a test order, Peter, to show how this kind of works in action, right? What happens when the customer actually puts in an order from BigCommerce? So I'm going to go to my BigCommerce site, and we have our website here pulled up, and I'm gonna buy our very famous Acer laptop, and you can see this amazing cutting cutting edge, amazing laptop here. And remember those kind of foldable ones that you could kind of use as a tablet and a laptop together.
Yeah.
So, so
Yeah.
we use
I
this.
love it. I think it looks awesome. Look at that. Look at the
Look at that.
1-inch bezels going around it.
Yeah, that's sharp. That's
Look at the
really
Windows
sharp. I'm telling
10 tiles. Like, yeah, this is cutting edge technology.
Take kind that technology. I know. I should get the latest version of Windows on there. I don't know, but we'll see. But here we could. I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to order 3 of these. I'm going to order it to add it to our shopping cart. Add it to our shopping cart. I could continue shopping or view or edit our cart. I'm going to go to view and edit our cart because we want to now edit our cart here. $1,500, right? You have your credit card handy, Peter?
I'll get the next round. You can get these first.
I got to get
And
these.
then,
All right, fine.
yeah.
Okay. We'll go and check out. We'll go through the checkout process, right? I'll put my email address, hit continue. I'm gonna put Eric. Let's put Eric Smith, the second name here. I'll put one. I'll put 630. I'll just put my address here. I put 123 somewhere court, and I'll do an Elgin, and I'll do Illinois. Illinois, and we'll do 60111. Okay, and then we'll select the shipping method, right? Again, a lot of this information gets again synchronized from Acumatica, right? So if we're not offering, let's say, DHL, well, we won't see DHL here as an option in the BigCommerce side, right? If for UPS we only offer 2 services when it comes to our e-commerce orders, we only see those 2 services here and what the rate looks like. So it becomes an extension, right, of your ERP. So your ERP holds what it's the rules around shipping, and that gets displayed on the e-commerce side. So nothing gets off track or unsynchronized, right? We could hit continue here, right? And now we could come to test card. We're going to say, put in our card information, put my test card in here. Okay, put name of the card, put me, let's say I'm paying for it, and put our CVV. All right, and I'll place the order. Order is going to get placed, okay, with our credit card, and we'll get a message. Thank you, Eric, for your order. Your BigCommerce order number is 104. This is important piece of information, okay, to kind of keep in the back of our mind right now. Because if I go to Acumatica now, okay, and I go to my e-commerce side and I go to prepare data, I could have orders coming in again from all different e-commerce platforms for us, okay, and I'm going to select our BigCommerce site. I look at our lines and I see BigCommerce sales orders. It's an import, and under ready to process, I have 1 order ready to process. I've already processed 3, and there's 5 total that came over. So I could say, yep, I'm ready to process this. I could select the one. It's going to tell me, yep, here's the order, and it's order 104. Remember, that was our order from BigCommerce. Order 104 here. So that came over, and now I could select this order, okay, and I can hit process. Once I hit process, this commits that order into Acumatica and creates a sales order within Acumatica that I can now begin to fulfill, go through distribution, go through warehousing, and go through shipping. So one order is processed through the system, right? Come into here, look at that. Let's go into our sales orders. Go into our sales order list. Here's our sales order. You notice it's right in our list here, sales order list, type EO, date, quantity, ecom guest, $1,500, BigCommerce, demo order 104, waiting fulfillment. I could go into this order and look at a lot of different information here, okay? Telling us, giving our external reference number, our BigCommerce order 104, right? Our description's auto-populated, the item that we purchased because it was all synchronized, the quantity, the unit price that we told the system. If I go to addresses, I see here, even though it used our e-commerce guest customer, it added our specific ship to address based on the ship to address added on the BigCommerce side. So that information is not lost and is translated correctly into the ERP. So we're sending this particular order to the right address at the person and address at the end of the day. And if I'm ready to go ahead and fulfill it, right, I could go create my shipping label, create my shipment, go through my quick ship process, and right, start that process. I think we'll leave that for our part 2 of this episode to show you how to fulfill an e-commerce order. In our case, it's going to be our BigCommerce order here. I'll show you how to fulfill that. But this key part of this demo and this podcast is to really show this important relationship, if set up correctly, between your e-commerce and your ERP that could streamline your back-end processes, remove confusion, right? Help drive efficiencies, use technology that's available now instead of 4 or 5 different, type of systems to get the same level of data and organization together that will then, right, help companies grow much faster at the end of the day. I almost feel if you're an e-commerce company, this is like absolutely a necessity. If you don't have this integration or relationship now, right, it's going to be harder to grow and build this later on because this is such a fundamental integration to understanding your business better. And that's how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the BigCommerce side is almost just the front end of your business, as it should be, really. And then you've got the support of the infrastructure that the ERP is giving in terms of inventory management, in terms of shipping, financials, data analysis of particular customers or industries that you're serving. You've got all of that behind being looked after. It's really quite a powerful combination when you have those two things. And I like that there's no duplication of effort here. We're not having to go back into BigCommerce, update our inventory. Say if our warehouse now receives the next shipment of Acer laptops, because they're selling so fast, we're not having to receipt into Acumatica, then also going to BigCommerce's admin side, updating the inventory in there. There's none of that. It's just one partnership that's working together for having a synchronized kind of setup in terms of e-commerce trading.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you hit the nail right on the head when you talked about there's no duplication of effort, right? I talk to prospects all the time that will get 500 e-commerce orders a month, and they have to literally print those orders out, and then they have somebody else hand typing those 500 orders into QuickBooks just to invoice, or into their ERP system or whatever system that they're using. And there's room for error, right? If your part numbers are very similar along, you could be punching in the wrong part number and now you're fulfilling the wrong part, right? Pricing could be off, right? It could not be. Maybe your the address information for the ship to could be off, right? Whatever it is, it it removes a lot of those error situations off the table. So ultimately you're creating a happy customer, a repeat customer that's going to keep come back and keep purchasing from your website.
Yeah. I really like how many fields are just mapped. There's no, like, can you imagine the pain of having to go to the addresses tab, overwriting the address, looking at, having BigCommerce on one side, Acumatica on the other, having to, type in what the address is. Oh, man.
This is what we wanted to kind of go through for our part 1 of our series. And like I said, I think the next one's going to be, we're going to talk about the fulfillment of this order, through
Mm.
Acumatica. And I think part 3 would be the generating the shipping labels, sending that information back into BigCommerce and all the notifications that you could get in there and see that.
Hmm.
I think I could see us also getting into gift certificates, getting into refunds, right? All these different areas and returns, because this is an important piece, I think, of
Mm.
day-to-day commerce nowadays. Everyone is a retailer, that I say, whether they believe it or not, they're selling online. So,
Mm.
if you could do that and tightly integrate your online processes to your back-end processes, I think it's
Yeah.
it's it's a huge win.
And I can see where the power of this really lies, because once we've got that data and that order from BigCommerce into Acumatica, well, the door's now open to everything else that Acumatica offers. You could have, say, you might have outsourced to a fulfillment company for online orders. We can
Yeah,
set that up as a separate warehouse. You have inventory in that warehouse. The normal inventory control methods that you'd have in Acumatica for normal trading, you can apply that to e-commerce. You could have an e-commerce warehouse, which is a third-party fulfillment company. And then you start thinking, like you said, in terms of returns, you could have returns come back to you. Maybe you don't want the customer having to return it to a third party warehouse. You want it coming back to you. You might want to do some inspections. If it's coming back as a quality issue, you could route the return back to your warehouse, receipt it into your warehouse or into quarantine stock, um, issue the refund yourself rather than dealing with the fulfillment company side of things,
yep,
and then just get the customer to place a new order
yeah,
on the system. And you haven't even got to talk to your fulfillment company. You haven't got to email them or phone them up and go, guys, just so you know, you're going to have a return coming in. Put it to
yeah,
one side for me. And then
right,
all of the ambiguity of what they do with the return. Does that mean it's your stock? How are you going to update the inventory? And all of that kind of mess that you normally have when you don't have your e-commerce platform supported underneath with an ERP system. All of that goes away, because as soon as that connection is made, or that pairing is set up, then you're suddenly open to everything else that something like Acumatica gives you. Cool. I love it. I love it because it seems so hands off. When we're always looking at trying to reduce the amount of admin work that everyone has to do and do more brain engaging, value generating tasks.
yep,
Having to deal with an e-commerce backend is not one of them. Like, as if I can have as much of that automated and looking after
yeah,
itself as possible, then
oh yeah,
great. And especially,
yeah,
like you said, risk of human error. Like, you don't have that if inventory is being managed by
right,
an underlying ERP system versus
right.
an Excel spreadsheet of what you may or may not have on hand for your web shop.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like you said, you hit the nail right on the head. It's reducing the redundancy of error, having better data. It's creating better efficiencies in the backend processes when everyone's looking at the same
Mm-hmm.
thing, and opens you
Mm-hmm.
up to much better outcomes, from a
Yeah.
customer service experience. So no, this is
Yeah.
huge, and I think, like Christina said in our last one, that you need to have a good ERP to support your front end processes, and
Mm-hmm.
when those two work well, it's a great, harmony together to, kind of
Mm-hmm.
supercharge businesses at the end of the day. So.
Yeah, and there's also the duplication of work is removed as an issue for even like a data analyst like myself. I haven't got to think about if the business says to me, "Oh, we want to have a look at what's hot and what's selling on the e-commerce side of things." I haven't got to
Right.
worry about, okay,
Exactly.
BigCommerce, what API are they using? I'm going to have to do a different data pipeline. I'm going to have
Yeah.
to see what data I can get out of the BigCommerce system. None of that. I've probably already got pipelines set up and Power BI dashboards set up looking at sales orders in Acumatica already,
Yep.
that maybe it's just bringing in the order type field and using that as a filter. And
Yep.
then immediately we can have the same known dashboard of sales performance. Yeah, you just filter where sales type is EO. Done. That's
Yeah.
all
That's
of
it.
your BigCommerce data
Yeah.
analyzed.
Yeah. Yeah.
You haven't got
Yeah.
to have a separate data pipeline for the e-commerce side, just like your customer service team haven't got to have a separate order process for your e-commerce site. So
Yeah.
there's lots
Yeah.
of
Oh yeah.
extras like that. Nice. It gets me excited whenever I see automation. As a professional lazy person, um, I like this kind of stuff.
No, this is good.
Good. Thank you, as ever, Nirav. Looking forward to part 2. I always liked
Yeah.
your demos because I always
Yeah.
get excited about these kind of things. As should others. Like, check us out.
Yeah.
Go to
Check us
YouTube.
out.
You may have listened to
Yeah.
it on the way to your on
Yeah.
your commute or something. Well, you need to fire it
Yeah.
up on YouTube. Thank you. Looking forward to part 2, and we shall explore this BigCommerce native integration into Acumatica a little bit more.
For sure.
And if you have any questions so far, anyone's seen anything that they want a little bit of a further explanation or didn't make sense, let us know. Put it into the comments after you've liked, subscribed, and smashed the various buttons.
Smash it.
Smash that button. And Nirav, I will catch you on part 2.
All right, sir.
Take it easy.